Why is it that the moment you stop caring about someone, they suddenly start missing you? And more importantly, why does this happen every single time without fail? I'm going to reveal the 3 psychological triggers that make this inevitable, but the third one will completely change how you see relationships forever. You've been there. You were giving everything to someone who seemed completely indifferent. You texted first, made the plans, put in all the emotional work. And what happened? Maybe lukewarm responses, cancelled plans, or that crushing feeling that you cared way more than they did. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment you stepped back, something shifted. Your phone started buzzing with their messages. They're suddenly asking how you've been, making plans, even admitting they miss you. It's like someone flipped a switch in their brain. But this isn't random. There's a specific psychological mechanism at work here, and understanding it will give you power over every relationship dynamic you'll ever encounter. However, there's a dark side to this that most people never realize, and I'll explain that in just a moment. First, let me tell you what really happened when you stopped caring. You didn't just change your behavior. You triggered the first psychological principle, uncertainty activation. When you were pursuing, you were predictable. You were safe. You were guaranteed. She knew exactly where she stood because your actions screamed that she was your priority. But here's the thing about the human brain. Predictability kills desire. The moment you stepped back, you became unpredictable again. You went from being someone who was always there to someone who might not be. And that uncertainty, it activates the same neural pathways as addiction. She literally becomes addicted to figuring out where she stands with you. But there's something much more powerful happening beneath the surface. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. They think it's about playing games or being manipulative. It's not. It's about the second principle, value perception shift. When you were chasing, you were operating from scarcity. You needed her validation to feel worthy. You needed her responses to feel important. But when you stopped caring, something profound happened. You started operating from abundance. And here's what's crazy. She can sense this shift immediately. People can feel when someone is complete versus when they're looking for external validation. That completeness, it's magnetic. Not because you're trying to be attractive, but because you genuinely don't need her approval to feel valuable. But now I need to tell you about the third principle, because this is the one that explains why this pattern is so consistent and so powerful. It's called investment reversal. And once you understand this, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Here's what happens. When you were always available, always responsive, always accommodating, you were doing all the investing. You were putting in the effort, the time, the emotional energy. And she was just receiving. But investment creates attachment. The person who invests more becomes more attached. When you stopped investing and she started reaching out, she began investing for the first time. And that investment, it made her more attached to you, not less. Think about this carefully. She's not missing the version of you that was chasing her. She's missing the version of you that stopped, the version that has boundaries, the version that knows your worth, the version that won't settle for scraps. But here's where this gets really interesting, and this is something that might make you uncomfortable. The reason she misses you isn't because she suddenly realized she loved you all along. It's because you became a challenge again. When you were pursuing, she didn't have to work for your attention. She didn't have to earn your time. She didn't have to bring anything to the table to keep your interest. Everything was handed to her. Now she has to work for it. She has to invest to get your attention. She has to prove her value to earn your time. And that work, it creates emotional investment. The more someone works for something, the more they value it. This is why she's experiencing what you felt when you were pursuing her. The anxiety of not knowing where she stands, the discomfort of uncertainty, the fear that she might lose something valuable. But here's what you need to understand, and this is crucial. She's not missing you because she finally realized your worth. She's missing you because she's finally experiencing what it feels like to want something she can't have. And that brings us to a dark truth about human psychology. We don't value what we have. We value what we might lose. We don't appreciate what's guaranteed. We desire what's uncertain. When you were always there, she never had to miss you. When you were always reaching out, she never had to wonder about you. When you were always available, she never had to work for your attention. Now she does. But here's the part that most people miss. This isn't about making someone chase you. This is about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be chased to feel complete. It's about building a life so fulfilling that whether someone is in it or not doesn't determine your happiness. The version of you that stopped caring has boundaries. It knows what you bring to the table and won't settle for less. It understands that your time and energy are valuable and should be treated as such. And that version, it's incredibly attractive because it's self-assured, independent, and whole. She misses you because she recognizes, perhaps for the first time, that she had something real with you. When you were pursuing, it was easy to take for granted. When you stepped back, it became clear what she was losing. But here's what happens next, and this is where most people make a critical mistake. They think that because she's reaching out, because she's finally showing interest, that means they should go back to the old dynamic. They think this is their chance to finally get what they wanted. Don't do that, because if you go back to chasing the moment she shows interest, you'll prove that your newfound confidence was just an act. You'll show that you were still operating from scarcity, just with better tactics. The person who stopped caring isn't the same person who was chasing. You've grown, you've evolved, you've learned your worth. And that growth is the most attractive thing about you. It's why she misses you. It's why she's finally reaching out. But now you have to decide, are you interested in someone who only valued you when you became unavailable? Someone who only invested when they thought they might lose you? Someone who only appreciated you when you stopped giving them your all? That's a question only you can answer. Because the truth is, she doesn't miss you. She misses the challenge you represented. She misses the uncertainty you created. She misses the version of you that she had to work for. And if you're okay with being someone's challenge rather than someone's choice, then by all means, engage. But if you want someone who chooses you from the beginning, who values you from day one, who invests in you because they see your worth, not because they're afraid of losing it, then maybe her missing you is just confirmation that you made the right choice by walking away.